Thanks, Jim. I really appreciate that. I wanted to spend just a quick note, and you can see on your screen right now we've got a review of the schedule. We've updated this just a little bit because of some of our earlier challenges. Our next presentation is going to be starting in just a few minutes, education film in the YouTube era. Then we'll be using the archive, making the archive with Carl Fleischhauer. At 10 after 2, Archives in Action, Putting Pictures to Work with Mary Foresta. 2:44, Athens Photography Project, Nate Thompson. 3:01, Visual Literacy and Community, Question and Answer with Nate Thompson. And finally, I'll have a brief conclusion. You'll also notice that we've removed the breaks from the agenda to keep ourselves a little more on time. So I just wanted to have everybody have a chance to look at that so you can plan your afternoon accordingly. Okay. Now let me welcome Chareen Snelson and Ross Perkins. Both are professors at an educational technology program at Boise State University. Dr. Snelson's scholarly activity centers on YouTube, online video, and video production in education. Dr. Perkins' research interests include STEM education, diffusion and adoption of innovations in change theory, and the title of their presentation is Educational Film in the YouTube Era.
Hello there, this is Chareen Snelson. Hopefully you can hear me. Yay, I got a yes. I'm not sure if you want me to start right away or if I should wait a couple of minutes. I think you took the breaks out, so my guess is go right ahead and move things along. I'm not sure if Ross has logged in. So since he's not here, I will just go ahead and proceed. So I am an associate professor with the Department of Educational Technology at Boise State, and this year I'm also associate chair. We are in Idaho. Just for a little bit of context on what you're about to see, our program is entirely online. We offer a master's degree, actually 2 master's degrees in educational technology, several certificates, and we were just approved to begin an online doctorate program in educational technology. We've been teaching online in our program for over a decade, and I've been teaching online for nearly that long. I use a lot of video in my classes. I do teach a course called YouTube for Educators, which is an elective that's offered about once per year in our program. So a lot of what you'll see is grounded in my teaching and my research that's been done over the past 3 or 4 years on YouTube and video sharing. So I'll go ahead and proceed. If I can get things to move. There we go. Here's an overview of my presentation. Basically, I'll focus on 3 things. Some trends that I've been seeing in online video since YouTube came online. I'll talk about this idea of educational film meeting YouTube and how we're seeing things change. And I'll also go into the scholarship of YouTube and video sharing that we're seeing emerge as well. So let's start with trends in online video, what I call the rise of the video web. Those of you who've been working online for a number of years know what it was like before YouTube and after YouTube. It seems like we had a sudden explosion of video go online. So now we have a situation where we're looking at millions of hours of video. It's hard to miss video on the web anymore. Much of it is free, although there's a lot out there that's subscription only. If you're looking for free content, it's usually available somewhere for most topics, although not everything. We're seeing on YouTube the rise of college and university channels and videos. There's an entire section of YouTube devoted to education and especially higher education. The YouTube blog post said that this is the largest collection of higher ed video content online. I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. There are thousands of videos from universities and colleges. You can find entire courses that have been videotaped and uploaded. We can just watch them for free. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon to see. We're also seeing collections of videos for kids emerge. So this is called Watch Know Learn. Some of you may have seen this. It used to be called Just Watch Know. This website was created by Dr. Larry Sanger, who is a co-founder of Wikipedia. His goal was to scour the web, look for good video content that can be used to teach kids, organize it by category. So he's got a directory here. And make sure that everything that's in here has been screened for content. So every video that is linked into Watch Know Learn is reviewed by someone before it is put in here. So it's safe for kids and it's deemed appropriate for education of younger children, especially up through high school, I believe. And it's kind of an interesting site. It's been going on for probably, I think, 3 years or so. And right now they have over 28,000 videos from sites like YouTube and Hulu and Vimeo that have been collected, and they're actually embedded. They're not stored on the site. This is basically an archival and organizational tool. They've also done something interesting by putting the site behind a proxy server so that it helps circumvent the issue of web filtering in schools that blocks YouTube and other sites like that. So it's kind of a fascinating thing to look at. We're seeing the rise of special interest video collections. This is a Wordle from the website that you see linked here. And this is just my categorization of various video sites that I've looked at over the years, the ones that are still available and typically free. Not all of them are free anymore. We're seeing a transition from free to pay-per-view. The Eclipse website that was created by Cornell with video clips for business education has now moved into a subscription mode. So I'm not sure how long these will stay viable, but right now there are quite a few for free. And they're on all kinds of topics like science, computers, documentary, education, and teaching. There's quite a collection of special interest going on out there. Not all on YouTube. They have their own websites often for these. We're seeing some very sophisticated visual video search appear. This is videosurf.com. Let's see if I can get my pen to work. Now, VideoSurf, when you do a search for a video on here, it searches all of the major video websites out there. And you get the normal list, but you also get thumbnail images from within each video, so you get a sense of what is contained in that video. So they call this a visual video summary of each video that you search for. It's kind of an interesting approach and very sophisticated. My hope is that video search will continue to become better and better so that it's easier to find that exact clip we want. As we see more closed captioning text tracks added to videos, I think that will help as well. But this visual search is something that I think is very cool. When I first started working with my own scholarship in YouTube, I started exploring software, trying to find something that would do this easily. And back then, that was probably 3 years ago, the best thing I could find cost $50,000, and now we're seeing it for free. So it's very cool. And over time, the technologies are just getting better and better and better. Now here are some usage stats that came from the YouTube blog. They maintain a blog and they're always telling us from time to time how much video is going up on the web. So in May of this year, they announced that there are 48 hours of video being uploaded every single minute to YouTube. And it's possibly gone up since then. And they also shared with us that there are now 3 billion plus views per day on the site. And as you can see from this graphic, that has gone up substantially in a very short period of time. I see this explosion of content, and YouTube is the largest destination and the most popular one for video and video sharing. According to Alexa, it usually ranks about 3rd or 4th place in terms of popularity across all websites, and especially for anything related to video. And why is this? Well, we know that equipment is low cost, it's easy to use. Anyone from any walk of life can get a video camera, record themselves, or record something else of interest and get it on YouTube fairly easily. Video editing software is also becoming reasonably priced and very powerful. Some of it is free, especially what we're seeing in the clouds. This is jcut.com. Here it is. There's my pen. Jcut is currently free. You can go online, upload your video, edit it right there on the web, and then export it directly to YouTube. So I'm hoping it stays free. It may be another one of those things that you have to pay for later, but right now it's very cool. You can even do special techniques like green screen on this. We have mobile access to video. The video sites are becoming increasingly mobile friendly, plus the tools on our mobile devices allow us to record, edit, and upload video. In my YouTube for Educators course this fall, one of my students had to leave town suddenly, and we had an assignment where they were to record a video log and upload that. Well, she recorded hers on her iPhone sitting in her car in a parking lot, edited the video with an app that she downloaded, and uploaded it directly to YouTube. And I thought that is very cool because we didn't used to be able to do that. It's getting easier and easier. In fact, I think mobile devices themselves will become very important if they aren't already in online video sharing. And Cisco tells us that this trend of online video is going to continue to grow. In 2010, internet video was 40% of the traffic, and they believe that it will reach 50% by the year in 2012. And in 2015, there will be 1 million minutes of video content crossing the network. That is a lot of video. So it's becoming a very important source of communication and creativity. People seem to like it, and they're doing it a lot. Not just people, but also professional organizations. And so they are also predicting that 90% of global traffic will be video by 2015. So basically, video is everything if they're right. And it will be interesting to see if they are. Let's talk about this idea of educational film meets YouTube. And this comes a lot from what I do in my class. So you'll see very practical approaches that we're using to create video for YouTube and thinking of doing it from an educational stance. Now, most of my students are K-12 teachers. Some of them are instructional designers or work in higher ed. And most of us have seen, if you're old enough to remember, these old black and white films, or you've seen them at some point, that are kind of hokey. And then we had, you know, the reel-to-reel film projector that I actually am old enough to remember this being wheeled into the classroom when I was a kid, and it was a big event and the lights went out and it was so awesome to see this. So the equipment was very clunky. When I was a middle school teacher in the 90s, we were using a television set on a cart with a VCR, and you had to check it out and roll it to your classroom, hope that you could get it when you needed it, and hope that VHS tape would actually play and not hang up. So it's been kind of hard to use film in the classroom, mainly because of the equipment and the limitations on the titles that were available. You know, here's a School Rules, How They Help Us. Those are the social network, or the social guidance films from the 40s and 50s. They're kind of a hoot. If you've never seen them, you should go on the Internet Archive and you can watch some of these. They're very funny. They make really great material for mashup videos and parodies. Now, here is one big page of text, and I'll apologize for that, but this comes from an article that I published with JVL with Ross Perkins a couple of years ago, 2009 actually, and we actually dug back into the historical literature to look at trends in educational films since it was created. And you know, we know that the motion picture projectors were created in the late 1800s, and we've had motion picture film in classrooms since around 1910 in the U.S., according to the literature. But what we found when looking back in these old teacher manuals from the 1920s through 1940s, where some of the techniques are pretty similar to what we see today. People are using things to initiate lessons, prompts for discussions, demonstrations, changing the speed of an event, like slowing things down or time lapse. This was a big deal back in the early days of film when they figured out that they could record something and then either slow it way down or speed it way up. That was amazing. We can share things that we cannot normally take students to, the remote, the dangerous, motion animations and so forth, micro cinema from a microscope. So these are things that seem pretty up to date, even though they're not. They're very old. But what we are seeing that is newer are things that we can do on sites like YouTube. So this is one of the assignments that I have students do at the beginning of the semester, is create an educator's channel where they start collecting videos that they review and they start organizing them. They create playlists, lessons, which is a collection of related videos with a lesson plan typed right into the description area. They can share this entire group of videos with its lesson plans using a single URL. We can create PowerPoint movies, and PowerPoint is one of those technologies that suffers from many bad examples. But what we can do is make movies from this and approach PowerPoint from a very visual stance. So we can change PowerPoint to a widescreen mode, which fits very nicely in the YouTube player. And then we use the drawing tools in PowerPoint to create diagrams and things to present the information visually, and then use our voice to carry the rest of the information. I usually struggle with this a little bit because students always want to fill up screen after screen with bullets. And sometimes you have to do that, but whenever possible, we like to strive toward a visual approach. So it's kind of an interesting blend with old and new forms of technology. We do a lot of screencast tutorials. I've made hundreds of these personally. As an online teacher, I find it necessary to use Camtasia. And now we have Screencast-O-Matic, which is free. It's so easy to be able to do these. If you can record what's on your computer screen, you can make a movie out of it and put it on YouTube. And this is very important in online education when you're teaching technology. We have a lot of video blogging, and this is Peter Oakley, who is known as Geriatric 1927. He became very well known on YouTube as the Internet Granddad. He tells stories about what it was like to live during the World Wars and so forth, and he's very interesting. But we also hear people talk about just about anything in their life, some of it highly personal. I know of one professor who went on YouTube and looked for video logs of people talking about their mental health issues, and he used these as case study materials for students who are learning to become psychiatrists. I thought that was very fascinating, and I wasn't sure. I mean, these are public videos. They're putting them out there. So to use this as an instructional tool in that way is something I would never have thought of. Now, he does try to protect the identity of those people on YouTube by downloading the videos. He uses a tool to do that so that his students don't actually go out and try to contact. I could just see that as a teacher, having my students go out and start, "Did you know that we were analyzing your video in class?" "Oh yeah, that would be good." So video blogging has grown to cover just about any topic you can think that interests people. Digital storytelling, of course, has been around for a while, and I see a lot of digital storytelling videos that use the traditional format, what I think of traditional as still images, voice, and video, but anything is possible. So people can do anything they want, it seems like, with digital storytelling. Green screen and special effects. If you can find something about this color, go down to the dollar store, get a lime green tablecloth or a big green piece of paper and record yourself in front of it. A lot of video editing software programs have keys or effects in them that allow you to replace that green background with something else. And we're seeing this all over YouTube. Machinima or machine cinema recorded in virtual worlds and 3D games is really taking off. I see a lot of this in Second Life. There are entire communities of people who meet to talk about how to make movies in Second Life using their avatars and whatever is available in the environment. They actually share their videos and talk about different tools that they use. It's very fascinating to see this as well. It's like a new art form that anyone can actually do. There is a little bit of a learning curve with this that's greater than other things because you have to learn not only how to use screen recording but how to manipulate cameras in a virtual world or game. This is legal to do in Second Life or World of Warcraft. They've made it so that the licenses allow that. Other places it's not. We're seeing stop motion and brick films. You'll see kids get on there with their Legos and make these stop motion movies. And so these are made by taking a whole bunch of still shots and putting them together. So we need roughly 24 images per second for a smooth movie. So they'll get on there and they move these little Legos in tiny increments and make an animation out of it. Well, we have software now that helps make this easier. I just downloaded an iPhone app to help make stop motion movies. It works with the camera on my iPhone, and I can set it up on a tripod and then manipulate these little pieces, and it should take pictures at increments. I also have this on Adobe Premiere Elements, and my students are planning to use it this semester to try this stop motion technique. It's kind of fun, it's a little tedious, but we're seeing more and more of this on YouTube. And now YouTube has made it possible for us to license our uploaded videos with a Creative Commons CC BY license. And so they have their own video editor. When you log into your YouTube channel and you've uploaded videos, you can actually edit them here, or you can go look for this Creative Commons licensed content, which is legal to use in your own remix. I have a new unit that I've introduced this semester where I'm teaching about legal use of media through these mashup projects, how to identify what's in the public domain or licensed under a suitable Creative Commons license that allows remix. We're also seeing it easier than ever to create interactive video. And with interactive video, you upload a collection of video clips to YouTube, and then once they're uploaded, you can add links from one video to another. So this makes it very easy to create things like simulations and simple games. So it doesn't take a computer science degree to create something like this or to explore different techniques for creating educational games and simulations. Okay, I'm kind of checking the chat over here, so I'll keep moving on. And now finally, let's talk about the scholarship of YouTube and what I have seen through my work over time with this. Now, during 2010, I spent some time going through a comprehensive literature review. I looked for peer-reviewed articles and conference papers with YouTube in the title. I searched 256 databases that were available through my university, found that 86 of those databases would yield results, and these are across multiple disciplines. And I found a collection of 188 papers and articles, and here's a breakdown of, my mouse has died, there we go, of how those broke out over time. And of course, YouTube was created in 2005, so we started to see literature in 2006, and it's kind of grown. 2008, during the elections, YouTube in politics was a very hot topic, so we saw a real spike there in the literature with the role YouTube played in those elections. Now, these results are available in the Journal of Online Learning and Teaching, or you can contact me and I can send you a link to that paper if you can't get this down. Now, the people who published the articles for this lit review were then contacted. Those who were most prolific in writing about YouTube were contacted for a follow-up Delphi study that we did here at Boise State. And we asked the question, what should be the research priorities in video sharing technologies, and particularly YouTube, over the next 5 years? And here are the top 7 categories that came out of this 3-round Delphi from these people who are immersed in this, and they said the top research priority was focusing on how people use YouTube and the communities that form. That kind of ran neck and neck with teaching and learning on YouTube, so they were tied for first place during round 2 and 3. They kind of switched. Social and political impact were, of course, third. Video creation and production were right in there, which made me happy because that's like my topic that I love. And then we got into things like legal, ethical, media management, and commercial interest. There was some interest in that. Our group was very mixed. Ross, did you have anything to add? I just noticed the chat. Or I can let you jump in at the end. I'm almost there. I'm too final.
No, I don't, Chareen. You've done a great job. Thanks.
Just trying to move on because we're kind of pressed for time. So final thoughts as I conclude this. Something that I found really interesting just in looking at the literature over time was this quote from Thomas Edison, and this was from 1913. And some of you may have seen quotes like this. He was of the opinion that the motion picture would replace text. And he said, we can soon, teach through the eye. And the school system will be completely changed within 10 years. And of course it wasn't. We still have textbooks. And he made some other quotes like this over time. I've seen some from 1922 and so forth. And, he was kind of laughed at a little bit. But I noticed something in more recent literature that I thought was kind of fascinating. And this video is the new text from Mark Anderson, quoted by Mark Prinsky. And I thought, okay, so we're coming back to this conversation. And when we're seeing this growth of video on the web, it's making me wonder is it possible for video to become more important than text? I sort of, in my gut, kind of doubt it, but I don't know for sure because I'm seeing this theme come back again and this rapid growth of video online. So it's just something to think about. And finally, I do have maybe 3 references that I'll leave on the screen while I come over here and address questions. So let's see what we've got here. I'm scrolling through the chat, going back up to look for questions that I've missed. One of them is that YouTube is blocked at many public schools, and what have we tried to work around this? Well, I mentioned WatchNo already is set up to work behind a proxy server, which allows, kind of fools, the web filtering software into letting it through. But one thing I've noticed with the teachers who take my class is that policy is all over the map in K-12 schools. Some schools are completely blocked. Some schools have teacher-only access or limited access. In some limited access schools, teachers are monitored when they access YouTube. In other schools, it's completely wide open, and it makes no sense to me what the difference is. I know that they have some restrictions to qualify for E-rate to be able to get that funding, that they have to have systems in place to protect student privacy and protect them from inappropriate visual depictions. But I don't know that they list YouTube specifically. It's just been caught up in the mix. And I suspect that things will loosen up over time. I guess we'll see. The other question was about, I think it was about the research. One thing I wanted to point out about the literature review I did, I noticed that there were about 99 of those articles that were actual studies of YouTube, and 30 of those were what I would call a simple content analysis, meaning that the researchers went on YouTube, searched for some topic like information in health videos, did an analysis of the videos for the quality of the information, and then wrote up an article. That was the predominant type of study that I saw. I mean, there were all kinds of studies, but that was the largest possible category. And so what that tells me is that we need more sophisticated methods for locating and studying video content, which we don't really have right now. It's a very manual process, and of course searching for videos is not easy to do in a random fashion because you just never know what's going to turn up in a search. So anyway, let's see if there's any other questions, and if not, I think we can wrap this up. I will click to the next slide, if it lets me. There we go, with an email address for follow-up questions, or if you just want a copy of the slides. I don't know if they'll be posted or not. The iPhone app that does stop motion. I have to actually look. My phone is sitting over here. I just did a search for it. Hang on, I'm going to turn on my iPhone. I had it put way over to the side so I wouldn't be tempted to look at it during this. And I don't know the answer just yet. I'm looking. Hang on. This is a new iPhone for me. I just so totally love it. Okay, it's just called stop motion. How easy is that? Stop motion. One word. Anything else? Okay.